Good morning, students. Today we are going to start part 3 of the chapter Colonialism and the City. In the previous video, we discussed about the policies adopted by the British in Delhi, especially after 1857. What kinds of changes were occurred? What kinds of steps were taken by the British in Delhi after 1857 revolution? Here in this video we'll discuss about planning a new capital with the help of some subtopics like Delhi Darbar. Delhi Darbar 1877, the first Delhi Darbar. Lord Lytton was the Viceroy. Lord Lytton was the Viceroy of India at that time. He organized a Delhi Darbar on 1st January 1877 to proclaim Queen Victoria as the Empress of India. Queen Victoria as the Empress of India. You know that all kinds of celebrations and events were organized in the capital city of the British. But this time, why this proclamation or big event was convened in Delhi and Delhi Darbar was organized in 1877? Because the British considered the importance of Delhi. They knew that what was the importance of Delhi. Delhi played very important role in the revolution. The people of Delhi completely opposed the British. They proclaimed Bahadur Shah Jafar as their emperor. Right? So British wanted to show their power with pomp and show. Clear? They wanted to show their power in Delhi after 1857 revolution. So in 1877 when Queen Victoria became the Empress, she was declared the Empress of India also in 1877. And in spite of that, at that time the capital of India was Calcutta. But Darbar was organized in Delhi. So it was known as Delhi Darbar 1877. Getting my point? So in this way, we have understood with the example of Delhi Darbar 1877 that this was the step taken by the British towards the new capital of Delhi. Second one is Delhi Darbar, again Delhi Darbar or coronation 1911, 12 December 1911. 12 December 1911. This Darbar was organized by Lord Harding. Lord Harding, he was the Viceroy of India at that time. When George V became the King of Britain, so he was proclaimed as the Emperor of India in 1911. Delhi Darbar is very famous for two big changes. Two decisions were taken. The first decision was that Delhi became the capital. Delhi was announced as capital of the British India. First. Second was that Bengal partition was cancelled. That Bengal partition that was done by Lord Curzon in 1905, that was cancelled. According to Bengal partition, Bengal was divided into two parts, West Bengal and East Bengal in 1905 by Lord Curzon, you remember, right? So it was cancelled because of the opposition and Swadeshi boycott movement by the extremist leaders of Congress. So after that, according to Delhi Darbar, in Delhi Darbar, two decisions were taken. First, Delhi became the capital of India and it shifted. The British shifted their capital from Calcutta to Delhi, and second was Bengal partition was cancelled. So this was the Delhi Darbar. After that, Delhi was announced as the capital and the new city also was announced to be started, new buildings to be made, and this kind of policy was formed and framed by the British. So for this purpose, the southern part of existing city, for example, this was Delhi, southern part, Raisina Hill, New Delhi, new city in Delhi was to be built in Raisina Hills, Raisina Hills, right? On Raisina Hills purpose, two architects were called to build, to design New Delhi and its buildings. They were Edward Lutyens and Herbert Baker. Dear students, you have to remember the names Edward Lutyens and Herbert Baker. They were called, they were architects, and they were called to design New Delhi and its buildings. So let's discuss the further development of Delhi with the text. Now, figure 10, you can see in this figure the Viceregal Palace. It is known as this time Rashtrapati Bhavan atop Raisina Hill. You can see this was a hill, and now it is covered with the new buildings. The government complex in New Delhi consists of 2-mile avenue, and the total area of the city was 10 square mile city. Delhi Kingsway, now Rajpath, known as Rajpath, that led to Viceroy's Palace, known as Rashtrapati Bhavan, as we have discussed, with the secretariat buildings on either sides of the avenue. The features of these government buildings were borrowed from different periods of India's imperial history. But the overall look was classical Greece. You have to remember, classical Greece means Greek in Europe, 5th century BC. For example, the central dome of Viceroy's Palace was copied from Buddhist stupa at Sanchi, situated at Sanchi. You can see the picture of Buddhist stupa, and the red sandstone and carved screens or jalis were borrowed from Mughal architecture. But the new buildings had to assert British importance. That is why the architect made sure that the Viceroy's Palace was higher than Shah Jahan's Jama Masjid to show the power of the British and their glory. Understand? So the new buildings under the British should be higher, should be with more glory in comparison of other buildings made or built during the Mughal. New Delhi took nearly 20 years to build. Approximately 20 years duration was observed to build New Delhi. The idea was to build a city that was a stark contrast to Shah Jahanabad. There were to be no crowded mohallas, no mazes of narrow bylanes in New Delhi. There were to be broad, straight streets lined with the sprawling mansions set in the middle of large compounds. The architects wanted New Delhi to represent a sense of law and order, in contrast to the chaos of old Delhi. The new city also had to be a clean and healthy space. Means you can see the roads and buildings in New Delhi. If you today you go there, so you can easily find the difference between the old and New Delhi. The British saw overcrowded spaces as unhygienic and unhealthy, the source of disease. So this meant that New Delhi had to have better water supply and sewage disposal and drainage facilities than the old city. It had to be green with trees, parks, ensuring fresh air and adequate supply of oxygen. So in this way, by reading this paragraph, we can understand that what kind of mindset was there with the idea of building New Delhi, right? The British had. Now, this is about life in the time of partition. Partition means when Pakistan, India were divided into two nations on 14-15 August 1947. The partition of India led to a massive transfer of populations on both sides of new border. As a result, the population of Delhi swelled. The kinds of jobs people did changed, and the culture of the city became different. You know that the people came from Pakistan, new country of Pakistan. Refugees came in India, and in the same way, the people also went to Pakistan from India. So as streams of Muslims left Delhi for Pakistan, Their place was taken by equally large numbers of Sikh and Hindus refugees from Pakistan. So refugees roamed the streets of Shahjahanabad searching for empty homes to occupy. At times, they forced Muslims to leave or sell their properties. Over two-thirds of Delhi Muslims migrated. Almost 44,000 homes were abandoned, and terrorized Muslims lived in makeshift camps till they could leave for Pakistan. So, in this way, the annexations of the Muslims were taken by Sikhs and Hindus. At the same time, Delhi became a city of refugees. Nearly 5 lakh people were added to Delhi's population, which had a little over 8 lakh people in 1951 at this time. Most of these migrants were from Punjab. They stayed in camps, schools, military barracks, and gardens, hoping to build new homes. Some got the opportunity to occupy residences that had been vacated. Others were housed in refugee colonies. New colonies such as Lajpat Nagar, Tilak Nagar came up at this time. Shops and stalls were set up to cater to the demands of the migrants. Schools and colleges were also opened, so new changes were observed during the partition of India. The skills and occupations of the refugees were quite different from those of the people they replaced, because people came from Pakistan, they were skilled in different or in separate works. The people who left Delhi also were differently skilled. Many of the Muslims who went to Pakistan were artisans, petty traders, and laborers. The new migrants coming to Delhi were rural landlords, lawyers, teachers, traders, and small shopkeepers. So, partition changed their lives and their occupations. They had to take up new jobs as hawkers, vendors, carpenters, and ironsmiths. Many, however, proposed in their new businesses. So, the large migration from Punjab changed the social milieu of Delhi. An urban culture largely based on Urdu was overshadowed by new tastes and sensibilities in food, dress, and the arts. So, dear students, in this way, we have seen the changes in Delhi after the partition, right? And after the revolution, we studied about Delhi Darbar and 1877, and after that in 1911, the development of New Delhi, right, by the new architects, and then during the partition, changes in Delhi. So you have to revise the chapter, you have to read the chapter with the help of this text. Thank you. Have a nice day.